Yo, what's good YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV, man. Back at you another video. At the content of this video, go and smash that like button. At the content of this channel, go and hit subscribe, man. Look, so Ravens versus Dolphins game preview. The Ravens come up with playing a very, very tough 49ers team last week in a game where it was the two top teams in the NFL in terms of record. Now they get the Dolphins this week, who are right behind them in the AFC standings. So there has been no easy games on the Ravens schedule, at least for the last, month plus. So this Dolphins game is no different. So let's get right into it, and let's get my thoughts on the game and talk about the injuries and all that kind of stuff like that. All right. So, all right, injury report for the Ravens. Let's start right there. I'm going to go with the guys that are questionable. Zay Flowers, Kyle Hamilton, Kevin Zeitler are all listed as questionable. There are a lot of guys listed on the Ravens injury report. A lot of them don't have an injury designation, so they're going to play. So, guys like Arthur Marlette, Patrick McCary, Jordan Stout, Roger Washington, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, Odell Beckham. All these guys are listed on the injury report. None of those guys have anything next to them, so they're going to play. So the main guys to worry about: Zay Flowers, Kyle Hamilton, Kevin Zeitler. Now, as far as those three, Zay Flowers was a limited participant in practice on Friday. He had been a DNP the 2 days before, so that's good. He's stepping up and practicing more. Kevin Zeitler was a full participant in practice. On Friday. So it looks like Kevin Zeitler is going to go. And then as far as Kyle Hamilton, he went from limited on Thursday to DNP on Friday. So Kyle Hamilton's status is very much up in the air. Hopefully he can give it a go, but if not, the Ravens are going to find a way to fill that gap. But he's a very, very important player to this team, as we obviously know. Now, on the other side of the ball, on the other team, for the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Waddle out, superstar wide receiver right there. So, the Ravens have to deal just with one of the two fastest players in the league, and that's Tyreek Hill. And then their guard, Robert Hunt, is doubtful. Miami Dolphins have a lot of injuries along their offensive line, but they've been able to weather that storm and still put on a pretty good season, obviously. So, but those are the two main big-time injuries for the Miami Dolphins right there, okay? All right, so the Dolphins, let's get to their last three games. 28-27 loss versus the Titans. I believe that was Monday Night Football. I remember watching that. 30-0 win over the Jets. A 22-20 win over the Cowboys. So 2-1 in their last three. 11-4 on the season right now. And, that Cowboys game was big for them because that was kind of their signature win for this season. They haven't had a lot of wins against really good opposition, right? When they've come against really good teams, the offense has slowed down, it's faltered a little bit. It hasn't been as explosive as it has been when they're playing teams of a lesser scale, right? That's just the facts. It is what it is. But they were able to get a very, very needed win for their confidence and things like that versus the Cowboys. So, they'll bring that confidence in here to the Ravens game, all right? So let's talk about the Dolphins defense, all right? 296 yards a game allowed. That's third. 36.6 third down conversion rate for seventh. Their passing defense, 205 yards allowed a game for 10th, 65% completion for 16th, 3.5 sacks a game for second, all right? And then the rushing defense, 90 yards a game, pretty much 91 yards a game for fifth. So this will be the third straight week in a row the Ravens have faced a top 5 rushing defense. The previous 2 weeks, it really didn't matter. The Ravens still got what they wanted on the ground. I think it will be the same this week because the Ravens are just They know how to run football. Right? As long as Lamar Jackson's back there, defense got to worry about the threat of him. They're going to be able to run the football, right? It's just how the Ravens are always going to be able to operate, okay? So that's always going to be something that's out there. 3.5 sacks a game. The Dolphins have lost guys like Jalen Phillips on the defensive line to a season ending. I think it was an Achilles injury a while back. But they still able to get pressure on the quarterback because, you got to think about it, man. I think about watching, when I grew up, the early 2000s Indianapolis Colts, right? Where, Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, all these kind of guys, they would get out to a lead. Then you got the white free Robin Mathis. They're able to tee off on the quarterback because the other team is playing from behind. So the Dolphins, they do have good guys on defense, but they are helped by this offense getting out to these leads, and they be able to go off on these quarterbacks, right? So Ravens, that's something that they have to be careful of, right? We gotta be mindful of it. All right, so the Dolphins offense, pretty much 31 points a game, first in the league, 411 yards a game, first in the league, 42.37 third down conversion rate, ninth in the NFL, 64%, so pretty much 65% in the red zone as far as touchdown conversion rate, third in the NFL. Their passing offense, 275 yards a game for first. 33 attempts a game for 21st, right? Mike McDaniel comes from this Kyle Shanahan tree, right? We saw it last week with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was, I believe, second in the NFL in yards per game, right? But the Niners were last in attempts. So we're kind of seeing the same trend here. First in yards per game for us passing, but only 21st in attempts. So they get their plays, they get explosive plays, they get their guys down the field. And we know that because of the guys that they have out there, right? So 1.8 sacks allowed per game for third. That's impressive considering how their offensive line is. And as far as rushing goes, 136 yards a game for fifth in the NFL on 27 carries a game. So once again, efficient in the passing game, efficient in the run game. So that's about, they're averaging 5 yards a carry. So guys like Raheem Mostert, they're having a career year. Raheem Mostert has 20-plus touchdowns this season, right? So got to be mindful of that. Also, Devin A-Chain, extremely fast back out the backfield. So, the Dolphins are loaded with speed and weapons all over the place, all right? So, we already knew that coming in, all right? So, let's get into the keys to the game, man. All right, so keys to the game, how I think the Ravens can win this game, how I think the Ravens will win this game. We're going to start with the offense, obviously, then go to defense, okay? So, for the offense, I want to say the first one I want to say is control the tempo, right? The last thing I want to see is that the Ravens have a bunch of 3-and-outs, getting that defense back on the field and have to go against this Miami Dolphins offense repeatedly, right? They are a fast-paced offense, okay? So you don't want to have your defense out there all game. Now, you can say that's pretty much any game during the season, but I feel like this particular game, it is very important that the Ravens are able to control the tempo of the game, right? With running the ball, with having more longer, maybe sustained drives, 7, 8, 9 play drives, right? Where they can get down the field and score points, right? Keep this Dolphins offense off the field. I have complete faith in the Ravens defense, but any defense that's on the field for large amounts of time, they naturally get worse, right? That's just how it is. Doesn't matter how good your defense is. If they're going to be constantly on the field like that, it's going to be a tough game for them. So I want to see the Ravens be able to control the clock, control the game, and make the Dolphins feel your presence up front, right? Be able to run the football, okay? So I think the Ravens will be able to throw the football. Now the Dolphins have good corners out there. Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, obviously, superstar, right? Jalen Ramsey has looked really, really good since returning from his injury. So, I think versus the Ravens, he made like a crazy diving interception. So he's on his game, right? So, Ravens have to be mindful of that. So one way to battle that, have a good run game going, right? Like I said, this is the third straight week in a row where the Ravens are going against a top-flight Russian defense, and it really hasn't mattered too much those previous weeks. The Ravens have still been able to get the kind of yards that they want on the ground, right? So I expect it to continue because that's the kind of team that the Ravens are, okay? All right, now, the second one is close the game, right? Now, the last Miami Dolphins memory that we have is the Ravens being up 35-14 in the fourth quarter, and losing the game, right? That's the last memory. Now, lots of things are different from that team to this one, right? Obviously it was last year. Greg Roman was offensive coordinator on that side of the ball. They didn't have Zay Flowers, things like that. On the defensive side of the ball, we were playing guys, Marcus Peters, Chuck Clark, Josh Bynes. It's a completely different defense, and it was Mike McDonald's first year as defensive coordinator, and it was early on in the season where he hadn't really found his footing yet, right? Now, all of those are excuses. I'm not going to lie. They shouldn't have lost that game, but, it is something that happened, all right? So both teams are very different, right? The Dolphins are playing with even more confidence right now, and then the Ravens defense is playing out of this world. So as a team, right, I'm putting on the offensive side of the ball because this goes with controlling the tempo, run the clock out, get the W, right? So control the game, close the game out. If it gets that kind of time in the game, don't blow the lead, right? The Ravens haven't had a big issue with that this year, compared to last year. They've been better at that. But, when I think of this Miami Dolphins game, that's the last game that happened. That's the last game that I think of. So the Ravens have to be able to close out the game if it comes to that, all right? Now, on the defensive side of the ball, okay, Miami Dolphins, I watched them a lot this year, So the main thing I've noticed about the Dolphins is the main thing you can notice that anybody watches the Dolphins. They play on timing and rhythm. So the first thing I want to do is you have to find a way to disrupt their timing, okay? Tua is one of the best anticipatory throwers that you're going to see in the NFL. He's throwing the ball on in-breaking routes. The guy hasn't even, started his in-breaking yet. He's probably 2-3 steps away from getting there. And Tua's already throwing the football, right? So that can be tough to stop. But the Ravens have to be prepared to do that, right? It's not too different from playing last week, playing the 49ers, like I said, right? These are all different variations of the Shanahan scheme, right? And Mike McDaniel has his own variation. But at the end of the day, they want to be able to run the ball. They want to be able to hit play action. They want to be able to hit big end breakers over the middle, right? That's what they want to be able to do, right? So the Ravens have to be able to disrupt their time. And now I don't advise pressing Tyreek Hill and anything like that, but they have to find a way to get him off his route, right? They have to find a way to get all these receivers off their route. Make Tua hold the ball for that tick longer, right? Tua is an on-time, on-rhythm kind of quarterback, right? Make him double clutch and hitch, you can have some things work in your favor. But if he's able to go there, the ball is going to be out fast, all right? That's one of the reasons why they don't give up a lot of sacks is because the way their offense plays, right? So he doesn't have the ball for a whole bunch of time because, one, these receivers are very fast, get down the field very, very fast. And two, his anticipation allows the ball to come out quickly, all right? Now, second thing I want to say is tackling in space, because this is the same. I'm going to keep saying it. This is like the AFC version of the 49ers game, right? So you got to be able to disrupt the time on offense. You got to be able to tackle in space, all right? The Ravens cannot allow Tyreek Hill to catch one of these in-breaking routes, take it to the house. Get behind them, take it to the house, right? When you have, if a play is made, right, 10, 15-yard gain, limit it right there. We don't want to turn that into an even more explosive play than it already is, okay? Don't, limit the damage, right? So tackling in space can be very, very important. This Ravens team has been very, very good at tackling this year, but it's still something that's very important to mention, all right? The Ravens have to be able to be physical with this Dolphins team and do that, right? So Patrick Queen made a comment during a post-game press conference last week. Now, he wasn't talking about the Dolphins, but it kind of fits, right? He said we play a brand of football that teams don't want to play. Teams want to play basketball on grass, is what he said, right? They want to play basketball on grass. We play a brand of football teams don't want to play. They need that brand of football versus the Dolphins, right? Not saying the Dolphins are soft by any means, nothing like that, but be physical with these guys. Be physical with them, all right? So then XFactors, right? So two of them. Now, one, I'm going to be honest, is the health of Kyle Hamilton, right? Now, I'm just throwing that in there because this Ravens defense has been very different when Kyle Hamilton is not on the field, okay? He is literally their X factor to their defense. He's the Swiss Army knife, the do-it-all safe, the do-it-all player, right? So if he can't go, one, that's going to hurt. And if he's hobbled, that's also going to hurt. So we have to look out for the health and safety of Kyle Hamilton. How is he moving out there if he is going to play, things like that. So that's going to be really important to this game. Hopefully Kyle Hamilton can go. Hopefully if he goes, he's all right. But, if he ain't feeling it, don't force it. You want Kyle Hamilton in there for the playoffs, right? That's what you want. All right. Second, D-line, hands, and passing lanes, right? Now, this one is important because, like I said, the Dolphins get the ball out their hands quickly. And also, the pass rush might not be able to get there on time. So what can you do to combat that? Get your hands up and bat the ball down, right? That's what you can do to help your back end play pass coverage, right? So if you notice you're not getting there, hands up, right? Straight like that. So that's something I'm going to be looking out for. Can the Ravens bat balls down at the line of scrimmage, right? That can help stop the explosive plays, the plays over the middle of the field. So, your guys like your Brent Urbans, Matabike's, Clownies, get your hands up, right? And make that play for your secondary. All right, so that's the X factors right there. I'll give my score prediction. Excuse me. I think the Ravens do win this game. I'm going to go 27-20. I really don't see it being a big time shootout. I don't. This Ravens defense is really good. Now it could go that way, right? You never know. But I'm going to go 27-20 Ravens. I feel pretty confident, pretty good about that score. And that the Ravens are going to win this one, lock up the number one seed in the AFC, and then lock up the AFC North as well. So that's it. That's my thoughts. That's my predictions. Always leave your thoughts in the comment section. I reply to all comments. And y'all have a beautiful, wonderful day. It's Gabriel, another Fan TV. I'm out.